Hello knitters, Barbara Benson here. I'm an independent knitwear designer who also likes to make videos here on my YouTube channel, Watch Barbara Knit. Make sure to check in the description notes below the video where you will find links to all my online shenanigans, including how to get my patterns to knit up for yourself, how to join the Watch Barbara Knit Facebook group, how to get my merchandise, and support me on Patreon. I have for you the second highlight reel from the December YouTube live. We had a lot of fun, but we talked for over an hour, and these highlight reels are going to be to break it down into more manageable chunks since I tend to only do 15 to 20 minute videos. This is the second highlight, and what we will be chatting about is needles. There were a lot of questions about needles, and I thought I'd put them all in one spot. And it's spliced together, so it should be fun. And I want to mention that I have decided that for this year, I'm going to try to continue to do these YouTube lives, and they will be on the last Thursday evening of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's the time zone I'm in. So put that on your schedule, put it into your phone, set a reminder, watch for the space saving spots that pop up and click that button so that YouTube will remind you when they pop up. I hope you enjoy these highlights on needles. Does anyone have any questions for me regarding knitting or designing or anything? As I said in my previous, I reserve the right to take the Fifth Amendment if it's just not something I'm comfortable about putting online for posterity, but I would love to answer some questions. So Bernice, that is really interesting. Bernice has said that she's been introducing bamboo needles and they're kind to your hands. That is definitely something, and I know I didn't mention that in my needles video. The kind of needles you like, there's so many different components that you have to think about, and how they feel in your hands is a lot. I know people who won't use metal needles simply because they can't stand the tick, 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 tick noise that they make. So one thing about bamboo needles, though, you will find that they are stickier. Not sticky as in like it's got syrup on it, but they're grabby. And if you start knitting tightly, or if you have a yarn that doesn't like to slide, it may cause issues for you. But if bamboo is what you like, you need to go for bamboo. See, and look, Wendy is just saying bamboo is harder on her hands than metal, too much drag. And that goes to why there's so many different kinds of needles. And it's important to try different kinds of needles and find which work best with you. It's funny, people come into the store, and new knitters, and I'll be like, well, do you want wood or metal needles? And they'll be like, which one is better? And there's not better, there's just different. And it depends on your personal preferences which needles are going to work best for you. So especially if you are a newer knitter, I encourage you to try different needle styles, different needle materials, and those types of things to find what works best for you. And as through your knitting career, your preferences might change, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's a lot of fun. Where can I get quality interchangeable needles? Your best bet is going to be your local yarn store. If you do not have access for a local yarn store, Knitter's Pride makes, and I'm not sponsored or anything, Knitter's Pride is very accessible. They make excellent needles. Chowgu makes excellent needles. So that's metal. One of my favorite, you guys have seen, I know y'all have seen this on my things. So these are Knitter's Pride Zings, and these are aluminum, which I really like. They're light, they're kind of hollow, and I have issues because a lot of metal needles are nickel plated, and I have a nickel reaction situation. I'm not allergic to them, and it doesn't hurt my hands, but they turn black and get all weird and corroded. So I have to stick with stainless steel or aluminum. So I really like these. I also have, these are both Knitter's Pride products. For wood, these are the Knitter's Pride gingers, and I have a whole review video on these, and they're really nice. And it seems ridiculous, but one of my favorite things about these needles is the fact that the size is this light color out of black. So you can actually see what size they are, as opposed to trying to see that tiny little laser etched number on the shiny reflective metal surface. I like actually being able to identify the needle size on things. I know that seems a little wacky for like a preference. Yes, the fiber you're working with, Elizabeth, excellent point. Different needles are appropriate for different fibers. If you're working with a slippery fiber and you're having a hard time controlling it, using a bamboo or wood, a stickier needle is going to be helpful. If you're working with a stubborn yarn that's kind of grabby and it isn't wanting to slide, going to something metal is an excellent choice. Yes, bamboo, if you have a problem with dropping stitches, bamboo is a stickier needle. It's going to help. Hayahayas are excellent needles. I have Hayahayas. Hayahayas are the only metal needle that I would say are actually comparable to or even pointier than the Chaogus. But Judy says she used shorts, which means that it's a 4-inch needle. I can't use a 4-inch needle at all, because the way I hold my needles is like this. I call it ham-fisted. My hand is like completely wrapped around the needle, and I use my like these two fingers like for leverage is how I manipulate my needles. And with the only 4-inch needles, they only come to here, and I try to manipulate and I'm pushing on the cable, and it just doesn't work at all. Cindy, that's an excellent question. I do use 16-inch circulars. I didn't realize they had 4-inch tips. No, I think they have regular length tips. I don't know. I have and do use 16-inch circulars. But I will tell you, most of the time when I'm knitting in the round, I am using magic loop. I magic loop just about everything. I will magic loop 8 stitches on a hat at the top or on a thumb. I'm just a magic looper, mostly because I'm cheap. Most of my circular needles are in the 32, 40, 60-inch long range, because I can always knit something smaller on a big needle, but I haven't yet found something that'll stretch a short needle long. But yes, I do use 16-inch. So swivel cord, Karen. So certain needles, do I have any handy? Probably not. Actually, maybe. Let's see here. Here's a needle. Okay, this is a Hayahaya. If you look right here, where the cable goes into the needle itself, you can see this one it's fixed. It's completely fixed. This is not an interchangeable. This is a fixed needle. There are some needles that the way that this cable goes into the needle itself, the tip, that this cord swivels inside the tip. It's not fixed, it swivels. And the swivel cords, you know how sometimes when you're knitting with a needle with this cord on it, it does this happy stuff? The swivel cuts down on, because the thing that makes your cord kind of curl up on itself is the motion of your knitting. It's the tension it's the twisting that's happening. So when you have a circular needle that has a swivel cord, it doesn't energize that cord as much. And you can find them in certain, so that's a fixed Hayahaya, and the fixed Hayahayas do not have the swivel, but the interchangeable Hayahayas do have a swivel. So I have been known to get the swivel cord and put it on tips and just call it fixed. But I do enjoy those. To repair mistakes, should I get several different sizes of crochet hook, or is there a universal fix-all size that would work fine with most yarns? You don't need every size of crochet hook, but having a few different sizes, essentially what you need is a tiny, a medium, and a large. Because if you're working with very fine yarns like lace and fingering, a large crochet hook is going to distort your stitches. Medium is good for a wide range, And if you are working in bulky yarn and all you have is a very small crochet hook, when you grab it with a crochet hook, it might split your yarn. So that can definitely be an issue. Medium is good, but if you knit with a wide range of sizes, having essentially a small, medium, and a large is a good idea. Karen DeWillers, I've tried repeatedly DPNs and fail each time. Any ideas that could help? Magic loop. If you don't like DPNs, don't use them. You can use Magic Loop. You can use the Flexi Flips, which are becoming popular. Addie has something called a Flexi Flip. The Flexi Flips might help you. Magic Loop might help you. And there's also a technique where you can use 2 circular needles to knit small circumferences in the round. If you're just fighting with DPNs, I would really recommend trying another small circumference knitting technique. So looking how to store my interchangeable needles. Okay. If you guys give me a moment, I will go get my interchangeable storage device, but you are probably going to see that I have on pajama pants. Just for the future reference, it's okay to wear pajamas. Actually, let's see if I can sneak without y'all seeing my pajamas. Okay, I'm coming. You can hear it. This is how I store my interchangeables. I made this myself. I do not sew very well. It's a straight piece of fabric that I sewed little flappies in, and I wrote numbers on it with a really high-end Sharpie, okay? This is not huge arts and crafts time, but this is how I store my interchangeable needles, and they hang on the wall like a really festive decoration, and they make noise. So those are my circs. Gonna have to get my son to put them back up because I'm too short to reach where they were hanging. I was able to get it down, but won't be able to put it back up. So Sherry recommended the Shorties by Xiaogu, and they do. They have these teeny little 9-inch circular needles, and some people absolutely love them, and they are definitely something to give a try. I can't use them at all. You need to think about what your knitting style is. To use those little tiny 9-inch circulars, you can only be knitting with these fingers. It's like you're knitting with your tips. It's like little mouse knitting. And since I hold my needles like this, if I try to hold them like this, I get cramps and everything. So with the Shorties, I would start by just getting one 9-inch fixed circular and seeing if you like knitting with that smallest circumference of a needle, because they're like 2-inch tips with this little tiny cord, before you invested in the full-blown Shorty set, because it's like over $100. It's me. You like the 9-inch circulars, and we sell them at the store, and some people really love them. It goes back to what I was saying about personal preference. Everybody knits differently, and that's fine. You're not knitting wrong. As long as you are if you're enjoying the process and you are getting the results you want, you are knitting perfectly for you. But not every tool is going to appeal to every knitter, and that doesn't make it a bad tool, and that doesn't make you a bad knitter if you don't like it. Find what you like and experiment and play. Counterfeit Xiaogu Shorties. Ooh, yeah, you got to be really careful with ordering things off Amazon. If you find a deal where they're selling you like a ton of needles for like $20, they're not good. You're going to regret it. They have bad cables, they have sticky, they're not consistent sizes. Be careful, and there are definitely knockoff things there. Thank you all so very much, whether you're in Australia or Canada or New Zealand or Austria. Thank you so much for joining me here today.